This is Erin Hobson with Rhinebeck School of Music, and in this lesson we're going to learn about some basic note relationships, half steps and whole steps, sharps and flats, and some very basic things to get you on your way to understanding music theory. So it doesn't matter if you play guitar, ukulele, or bass, or whatever instrument you play. These are basic rules of music that will apply to any instrument. So I'm going to talk about some really basic information that you may or may not know, but it is all part of building the foundation to start to understand music theory, so it's important. Learning music theory on a stringed instrument is difficult. At least it's not as easy as piano. On piano, everything is laid out. You know that your white keys are your natural notes, you know that your black keys are your sharps and flats, and there's no question about that. And it's very easy to see the order of everything. On stringed instruments, well, you have these open strings, and if you know your open strings, you can start to count up your notes and figure them out string by string, but it's a matter of memorization. So I'm going to start with some really basic information. The first thing you want to know is the difference between a half step and a whole step. So a half step in music, particularly on a stringed instrument, guitar, ukulele, or bass, if I start on this F note on my top string and I go 1 fret, that is a half step. So a half step is just 1 fret distance. A whole step is 2 frets distance. So we have a half step and we have a whole step. Another thing you're going to want to know is the difference between sharps and flats. So if I start on this note F and I increase the pitch by 1 fret, I have sharped that note. And a sharp is indicated by what is now known as a hashtag symbol, or pound sign, number sign. Flat is the opposite. So if I start on any note, so say I started on this A and I went back 1 fret, now I have a flat, I've decreased the pitch by 1 fret. And a flat is indicated by a lowercase b. So now we're going to talk about all of the notes in music and their relationships to each other. So the only natural notes that occur in music are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. There is no H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, so after G you go back to A. So it's only A, B, C, D, E, F, G, okay? The sharps and flats occur between all the notes that are a whole step apart. And if you ever played piano, you always notice there's those 2 white keys that are together that don't have a sharp in between. Those are B and C and E and F. So on piano, it's very easy to see that. On the guitar, you're going to have to remember that and know where that exists. So this is my E when it's open on the top string. So my next note is F. So there is no sharp or flat in between E and F. So they are just a half step apart normally. Now if I go to this next note, this is F sharp or G flat, because my next note G is a whole step from F. So this note in between, it's F sharp. If I increase the pitch from F by 1 fret, it's G flat. If I decrease the pitch from G by 1 fret. And certain keys have flats, certain keys have sharps. We'll get into all that later, why you would call it one over the other. That's for a whole other lesson. But just know that this note has 2 names, F sharp and G flat. If I go to the 3rd fret here, remember everything is alphabetical in music. So if this was E, this is F, we have the sharp in between, now we have G. So G is on my 3rd fret. Then after G I have a G sharp, or an A flat. So remember after G there's no H, so you go back to A. So now A is on my 5th fret. If I go to the 6th fret, I have A sharp. Or if I started on B and I went back, it would be B flat. Then my next note, so after A comes B. But there's no B sharp because B and C are a half step apart. So here's my C note on the 8th fret. Then C has a sharp on the 9th fret, or it's D flat. If I decrease the pitch from D, I go up to the 10th fret, I have my D, because after C comes D. Then I have D sharp or E flat. And then I'm back to E again on the 12th fret, which is my same as my open E. And then I could keep going to F, F sharp, etc. So everything is alphabetical. You just have to remember that E and F and B and C are naturally a half step apart, and all of your other notes have a sharp or flat in between them. So to quiz yourself, if you know your open strings on your guitar, your bass, or your ukulele, you can start on any string and you can count up through the order of notes and test yourself. So we did the E string, so now here's my A string. When it's open, it's A. Then I have A sharp, B flat. Then I have B. C on the 3rd fret, because B and C are a half step apart. C sharp, D flat, D on the 5th fret, D sharp, E flat on the 6th, E on the 7th, right to F, because that's a half step apart, F sharp, G flat, G, G sharp, A flat, A, etc., etc. And I can do that from every string. And you should quiz yourself that way. It's a good way to practice it and get the order of these notes in your head. Because it's not like a piano where it's all laid out and you can just see it. Oh, I'm on B, my next note is C because it's that white key. There's no sharp in between. You're going to have to remember that as a stringed instrument player. It's not impossible, it's just more difficult. So as an exercise, you can continue to count your notes on every string and just really think about where your half steps and your whole steps lie, where your B and your C and your E and F are, and what notes are in between, where your sharps and flats are. It's really good to know, and it's also good to be able to really learn your notes across the fretboard in any position. I know where every note is on the guitar. I mean, I've been doing this for many years, and I'm not saying it's easy. It did take time. But some ways that you can help, if you have a basic reading book, like a Hal Leonard book or a Alfred or Mel Bay, any of the basic beginner books, they always start with guitar anyway, like with 3 notes, E, F, and G. So as an exercise, maybe instead of playing E, F, G here, you can find where E, F, and G are in the next position, or E, F, and G here. And you can practice reading your notes from those exercises in different places across the fretboard. This is B, C, D. I also have B, C, D here. I have B, C, D here. And it was that way that I started to really learn where the notes were across the fretboard. And also, I'm a jazz player, so learning a lot of jazz standards, particularly reading the melodies in jazz and having to transpose them an octave higher, it really helped me learn my neck. So if you get some kind of basic reading book and you just go through the exercises and you practice them in different positions, that could be a good way for you to learn your notes. So hopefully this video was helpful. You can support Rhinebeck School of Music on Patreon. You can become a patron, and what that means is you will have the ability to have custom content and lesson content made for you. You get to Q&A with the teachers and ask questions monthly, and we provide all kinds of fun videos for bass, for guitar, for ukulele, everything from theory to song tutorials to covers. So really help us out to support us on Patreon, and the link will be provided in this video, and thanks for watching.